The day arrives. People send messages. Some of them genuinely mean it, and you read them, you respond warmly, you say thank you, and somewhere underneath all of it, you feel almost nothing about the fact that it's your birthday. Not sad, not bitter, not performing indifference to seem interesting, just genuinely, quietly unbothered by a day that seems to mean considerably more to everyone around you than it does to you. And the strange thing isn't the feeling. The strange thing is having to explain it. Because the moment someone finds out you don't care about your birthday, they treat it like a symptom. Like something must have happened. Like you must be fine. Are you sure you're fine? Birthdays are supposed to mean something. Don't you want to celebrate? You only turn this age once. And you nod. And you say you're sure, and you mean it, and they don't quite believe you. If that's familiar, this video is going to explain something about yourself that most people have never thought to examine. Stay till the end. Because the psychology here is quieter and more interesting than most people expect. Let's start with what a birthday actually is, psychologically speaking. Because underneath the cake and the messages and the social expectation, a birthday is a cultural ritual. And like all cultural rituals, it serves specific psychological functions that have nothing to do with the day itself. Rituals create shared meaning. They mark transitions, acknowledge the passage of time, and most importantly, they give people a structured opportunity to express affection and feel connected. A birthday isn't really about the person who was born. It's about the people around them having a moment that feels collectively significant. A permission slip to say out loud the things that tend to go unsaid. Which means when someone doesn't care about their birthday, what they're often unconsciously opting out of is not the celebration itself. It's the role. The role of being the one who is centered, marked, attended to, and made much of for an entire day. And that particular role, for a specific type of person, feels genuinely uncomfortable in a way that's hard to articulate without sounding ungrateful. Psychologists who study what's called self-concept and identity consistency have found something interesting. People who have a stable, internally grounded sense of who they are tend to feel less need for external events to confirm or mark their identity. They don't need a day to feel significant. They already have a relatively settled relationship with their own existence that doesn't require annual social reinforcement. This is the opposite of what most people assume. The assumption is that not caring about your birthday means low self-worth, that you don't think you deserve to be celebrated. And for some people, that's true. But for many others, the psychology runs in the opposite direction. It's not that they think too little of themselves. It's that their sense of self doesn't live in the external validation enough to need a specific day to deliver it. Now let's talk about the childhood piece, because it's always there, somewhere. For many people who grew up in households where birthdays were inconsistent, either not celebrated, celebrated in ways that created pressure rather than joy, or used as leverage in some form, the emotional association with the day can quietly shift. Not necessarily into something painful, sometimes just into something neutral. The brain learns early that this particular date doesn't carry the meaning it's supposed to carry. And once that association is formed and goes unchallenged for enough years, the day just stops feeling significant. Not damaged, just muted. For others, it went a different direction. Birthdays were celebrated, but the performance of enjoying them was mandatory. You were supposed to be happy. You were supposed to feel special. And something about the pressure of being required to feel a specific thing on a specific day created a quiet resistance. The feeling that was supposed to arrive didn't, not quite, or it arrived in a different shape than expected. And the gap between what you were supposed to feel and what you actually felt became its own kind of discomfort. That discomfort, repeated enough times, teaches the mind something. That the anticipation around this day doesn't tend to deliver what it promises. And minds that have learned this tend to quietly stop anticipating. Pause here for a second, because this next part is the one most people haven't considered. Not caring about your birthday is also, for many people, a reflection of how they relate to time itself. There's a specific type of person who experiences time less as a series of milestones and more as a continuous thing. They don't feel the passage of a year as a discrete event with a clear before and after. The number changing on their age doesn't reorganize their sense of themselves. Yesterday they were that person. Today they're the same person. The calendar moved. They didn't. Psychologists call this a continuous versus episodic relationship with time and self. Episodic thinkers experience their lives as a series of chapters with meaningful transitions. Continuous thinkers experience their lives as a single unfolding thing where the chapter breaks are more or less arbitrary. And for continuous thinkers, a birthday is one of the more arbitrary breaks. The sun went around once, they're still them. This doesn't mean they don't feel the passage of time. Sometimes they feel it more acutely than episodic thinkers do, just not on the assigned day. Just not in response to the social cue telling them this is the moment to feel it. Let's bring this into something more specific, because the experience of not caring about your birthday tends to have a particular texture that goes beyond simple indifference. It's often accompanied by a genuine warmth when other people celebrate their birthdays. You show up. You remember. You make it meaningful for them. Because you understand what the day is supposed to do for people, you just don't need it to do that for you. It's often accompanied by a mild but real discomfort when people make a fuss. Not because you're ungrateful, but because being the center of sustained, organized attention for an entire day is genuinely overstimulating in a way that's difficult to explain without sounding like you're complaining about being loved. And it's often accompanied by a very specific kind of loneliness that almost nobody talks about. The loneliness of watching people try hard to make you feel something you don't quite feel, and not being able to give them the response they were hoping for, and feeling vaguely guilty about that gap for the rest of the day. Because the people who love you want the birthday to land. They want the reservation, or the surprise, or the song to produce something visible and real. And you care about them enough to want to give them that. You just can't manufacture it. And the effort of trying to feel what the occasion is calling for, on top of everything else, is its own quiet kind of work. Here's something worth saying directly. Not caring about your birthday doesn't mean you don't want to be loved. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate the people who show up. It doesn't mean something is wrong with the way you're built or the way you process connection. It means the mechanism that converts a specific date into felt significance either didn't form the way it does in most people, or formed and then quietly unwound over time. Or never needed to exist because your sense of yourself was never that dependent on the calendar delivering it. The people who love you and make a fuss are doing something real. They're expressing something genuine in the language available to them. And you receive it, even if you don't receive it the way they were hoping. The warmth is there. The appreciation is real. It just doesn't transform into the performance of joy they were expecting. That's not a failure on your part. It's a mismatch in how significance gets felt, not in how much you're capable of feeling. And maybe the most honest thing you can say, if someone asks why you don't care about your birthday, isn't that you do secretly, or that something happened once, or that you're working on it. Maybe it's just that you feel like yourself every day, and you don't need one specific day to remind you that you exist, that you're loved, or that the time you've spent here has meant something. That's not emptiness. That's actually a kind of quiet fullness that most people spend their whole lives chasing and never quite find. If this video described you more accurately than you expected, please subscribe. I would genuinely appreciate it.